IELTS Reading Week 1, Day 2. 1. Salmon. Salmon breed in fresh water and spend their adult life in the sea. When the adults reach a certain age, they migrate back to the rivers where they were spawned and begin to swim upstream. Spawning occurs in fast-flowing and oxygen-rich water where the bottom consists of small stones and gravel. After spawning, adult salmon usually die. 2. Biological clock. At a certain time each day or year, a chicken lays an egg, people feel sleepy, and a tree loses its leaves. All of these things, and many more things, happen in a certain way. They take place because of something called an internal clock. The word internal means within, and the biological clock is located within a certain part of every plant and animal. It is used to receive signals from the world around it. Some of these include light, heat, and darkness. 3. Bat wings. Bat wings are made from long arm bones covered by a big piece of skin or membrane. The skin is attached to the lower leg near the ankle, so the wing is the length of the body. Using powerful muscles, the bat does not just flap its wings up and down like a bird, but rather swims through the air, reaching forward in an action much like a breaststroke of up to 20 beats a second. It can also glide on air currents, much like a gull and a hawk. 4. The chameleon goby. The chameleon goby, a native fish of China, Korea, Eastern Siberia, and Japan, was introduced into San Francisco Bay in the 1950s. It uses old oysters or clamshells as nesting sites and lays eggs on the inner surface of the shell in a single layer. Because there are no oyster beds in San Francisco Bay, the chameleon goby usually uses cans and bottles as spawning sites. 5. Fan. A fan is a device used to induce airflow and generally made from broad, flat surfaces which revolve. Although the air circulated by a fan is refreshing, fans do not actually reduce air temperature. In order to make the room colder, an appliance like an air conditioner is required. 6. Rubber. Before 1860, rubber was harvested from trees in the Amazon rainforest in Brazil. The process was costly and it was difficult to ensure a constant supply. Then, botanists attempted to grow the rubber plants in greenhouses. This was successful, so the seeds were transported to Singapore and other British colonies in Asia. Organized farms, called plantations, were established and allowed widespread cultivation to occur. 7. Scandinavia. The region of Scandinavia is located in northern Europe and takes its name from the Scandinavian peninsula. This area includes continental Denmark and the two largest countries on the peninsula, Norway and Sweden. Finland is sometimes included, although many Finnish nationalists oppose this practice. In English, the nations that make up Scandinavia are often known as the Nordic countries. 8. Women's attire. In the 1920s, women's attire reflected their new economic and social freedoms. Women's fashion reflected their rebellious spirit and a desire to stray from tradition. Women's clothes became easier to put on, more casual and comfortable. The hemlines of skirts became shorter, for example, and women started to wear more pantsuits. Reading Passage 2. The hot air balloon in history. Flight has always been a goal of mankind. However, early experiments using bird suits and other contraptions often ended in failure. The first real successes in manned flight came from the hot air balloon. In 1783, French scientist Jean-François de Rosier ascended more than 80 meters in a balloon. It was tied to the ground using a rope, and it safely landed after 15 minutes in the air. A few months later, he made a similar flight, but without being tied down. He traveled nearly 9 kilometers and rose 200 meters above the Earth's surface. Rosier could achieve this by heating the balloon with fire using straw as fuel. Over the years, designs became increasingly complex. Improvements such as the use of hydrogen as fuel led to many major accomplishments by adventurers like Swedish pilot Per Lindstrand. In 1987, Lindstrand crossed the Atlantic Ocean in a hot air balloon. Using the largest hot air balloon in history at the time, he covered more than 4,600 kilometers in only 33 hours. In 1991, he traversed the Pacific Ocean in a hot air balloon. With the goal of setting a new world record, Lindstrand used the jet stream and finally succeeded in establishing a new record for distance.